Hey guys, this is Evan from EzOrigami, and today I'll be teaching you how to fold an origami elephant designed by Rui Roda. This is a simple minimalist design, and it looks great when it's completed. I'm making this video to let you know about Origami USA's recent partnership with the World Conservation Society. Together they started the Elephant Origami Challenge, which is an attempt to break the current Guinness World Records title for the largest display of origami elephants. The ultimate goal is to fold 35,000 origami elephants to bring attention to the 35,000 African elephants that are killed for their ivory each year. So folders from all over the world are invited to send in their origami elephants in order to help break the current record of 33,764. After reading about this, I knew I wanted to get involved, so I figured I would teach you how to fold this simple origami elephant so that you can join in as well. So if you're interested in sending in your origami elephant to be counted towards a world record, more information can be found in the video description below. Be sure to share this video, and together we can break the world record while raising awareness for a very serious issue. So let's get started. This model requires one square sheet of paper. If this is your first time folding this model, I recommend using a 6-inch or larger square. Using a 6-inch square will result in an elephant about 3 inches wide. And I'm going to be using larger paper with color on one side and white on the other just to make it a bit easier to follow along. And once you've prepared your paper, then we're going to start with the white side up. And then we're going to fold in half vertically. So take this right edge and fold it over to the left edge. Align the corners and the edges. Then make your crease. And then unfold. Then we're going to rotate the paper 90 degrees, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So once again, fold over this right edge and align it with the left edge. Align the corners and the edges. Then make your crease, and then unfold. And then we're going to fold in half diagonally, so take this bottom right corner and fold it up to the top left corner. Align the corners and the edges, then make your crease, and then unfold. And then we're going to rotate the paper so that the diagonal crease that you just made is now held vertically. And now we're going to fold over this bottom right edge and align it with that vertical crease. So we're going to do that by pulling the right edge over to the left, just like this. Then we want to start at the bottom of the model and work our way up until the entire edge is aligned with that crease. And once everything is aligned, then we're not going to crease all the way. We just want to make a small crease starting at the bottom of the model all the way up until we reach this small horizontal crease here. So we're just going to make a small crease just like this, about halfway up the edge. And then you can unfold. And now we're going to do the same thing on the left. So once again, we're going to fold over this bottom left edge and align it with this vertical crease. So we're going to do that by pulling over this left edge. And again, we're going to start at the bottom of the model and work our way up until it's aligned with that vertical crease. And then we're only going to crease about halfway up this edge until we reach this horizontal crease here. So we're just going to make a small crease just like we did on the other side. Then you can unfold. Then we're going to slightly rotate the model so that the two creases we just made now extend from the bottom left corner. So from here we're going to make a small horizontal crease that extends from the right end of this crease that we just made. And we're going to do that by simply pulling up the bottom edge, just like this, until you reach this point where these two creases intersect along this bottom colored edge here. And you also want to make sure that these vertical creases and these vertical edges are aligned on each side as well. Then you can make your crease just on the right side of the model, and then you can unfold. So in order to keep the model symmetrical, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're simply going to rotate the model just like this, so that these three creases now extend from this bottom right corner. So once again, we're going to make a small horizontal crease that extends from the left end of this crease that we made before. So again, we're going to do that by simply pulling up the bottom edge, and we're going to pull it up until you reach a point where the intersection of these two creases lies along this bottom colored edge here. And once you've reached this point, then we're going to crease to the left side of that crease intersection. So once again, make sure that the vertical creases and edges are aligned, and then you can make your crease. And then you can unfold. And now we're going to turn the model over. And once it's turned over, I want you to notice this small rectangle on the bottom right corner of the model. And what we want to do is create a small diagonal crease that extends from the bottom right corner of that rectangle up to its top left corner. So we're going to do that by simply pulling up the bottom edge, and we want our crease to start from the bottom right corner, so we're simply going to pivot this white edge just like this until it reaches the central crease intersection here. At this point, you'll also notice that these two creases intersect along this bottom white edge. So what we want to do is make our crease starting at that intersection all the way over to the bottom right corner. So we're just going to make a small crease just like this. Then you can unfold. And again, in order to keep the model symmetrical, we need to do the same thing on the other side. So we're simply going to rotate the model just like this so that the crease you just made now extends from the top right corner. And now we're going to focus on this rectangle here. So what we want to do is make a crease from the bottom left corner all the way up to the top right corner of that rectangle. So we're going to do that by lifting up the bottom edge, and just like we did on the other side, we want the crease to pivot from the bottom left corner. So we're simply going to pull up the white edge until it meets up with that central crease intersection. At this point, you'll notice that these two creases also intersect along this bottom white edge, and what we want to do is make our crease so it extends from that bottom left corner all the way up to that crease intersection, just like this. And once you've made this small crease, then you can unfold. And now we're going to slightly rotate the model so that these three creases now extend from the bottom corner. So from here we're going to make two small horizontal creases by using these two crease intersections as references. So we're going to do that by slowly pulling up the bottom edge. And as you're doing this, you want to make sure that the vertical creases in the center of the model are aligned. So you want to continue pulling up the bottom edge just like this until you reach a point where these two crease intersections align with this bottom white edge here. And once you've reached that point, that's where you want to make your crease. But we're not going to crease all the way. We just want to make a small crease to the right side of this crease intersection, and we want to make a small crease to the left side of this crease intersection. So we're just going to do that on both sides, just like this. Again, try your best not to crease through this middle section here. And once you've done that on both sides, then you can unfold. And now we've finished almost all of the pre-creasing. So what we want to do from here is rotate the model 180 degrees, and then we're going to fold up this bottom corner and align it with this central crease intersection here. So we're simply going to pull up that bottom corner, and once it's aligned with that central crease intersection, then you can make your crease. And now we're going to make two small creases on this white triangle that we just folded up. So we're going to start by folding over this right edge and aligning it with this bottom white edge here. So we're just going to pull the right edge over to the left just like this. And I like to start at the bottom right corner of that white triangle and work my way over to the left, aligning both of those edges. Just like this. And once both edges are completely aligned, then you can make your crease. And then you can unfold. And now we're going to do the same thing on the left. So this time we're going to fold over this left edge and align it with this bottom white edge here. So we're just going to pull down the left edge, start at the bottom left corner, and work our way over to the right, aligning both of those edges. Just like this. And once the edges are completely aligned, then you can make your crease. And then you can unfold. And now we're going to rabbit ear using the creases that we just made. So what that means is we're essentially collapsing along these three creases at the same time. And I find it easiest to do this by pushing in on the left and right sides of this white triangle while pushing up on the center point here. So you just want to push up the center point like that so that the layers in the middle stand up. And then you can bring those two layers together, and you can fold them down to either side. You'll see the rest of the model will collapse along existing creases, and then you should have something like this. And then we're going to turn the model over. And now we're going to fold the entire model in half along this existing vertical crease. So we're going to do that by simply folding this left corner all the way over to this right corner here. So we're simply going to fold the entire model in half, just like this, until both corners are aligned. And if you slightly rotate the model, it should look something like this. And now we're going to reverse fold this top triangle along the existing horizontal creases on both sides of the model. So we're going to do that by lifting up the model, and I find it easiest to slightly separate the two layers on the right side. So you simply want to put your finger in between the two layers, just like this. And then we want to push down on this top point by pulling it down towards the bottom of the model. So we're just going to pull it down like this. And from here I think it's easiest to slightly rotate the model and look at it from the front. And you'll see that you now have this square shape. And what we want to do is fold this square in half along this existing vertical crease. So we're simply going to bring both sides of the square together by making a valley fold in the center. So we're essentially reinforcing the two horizontal creases that I mentioned before. And if you put the model back down, you can see that we've reverse folded this top triangle here. And now we're going to reverse fold these layers on the left along these existing vertical creases on both sides of the model. So again, we're going to do that by lifting up the model. And I find it easiest to slightly separate the layers on the left side. So you simply want to put your finger in between the two central white layers, just like this, just enough to slightly open up the model. And from here we want to push on this leftmost point, so we're going to push it over to the right towards the inside of the model like this. Then again, I find it easiest to slightly rotate the model and look at it from the front, and again you'll see that we have this square shape. So once again we're going to fold the entire square in half along this existing vertical crease here. So we're carefully going to bring both sides of the square together, just like this, being careful that the flap inside doesn't move out of place. Then you can bring the two layers together, and again you want to reinforce the two vertical creases that I mentioned before, and if you put the model back down, you can flatten out the layers inside, and you should have something like this. And now we're going to tuck this large triangle inside of the model along these two existing creases here. And if you've been following along so far, these creases should already be in the correct orientation. This vertical crease on the left should be a mountain fold, and this diagonal crease on the right should be a valley fold. And what we want to do from here is grab the bottom corner of the very top layer of paper, and we're going to slowly slide it inside of the model like this. And you'll see it reaches a point where it wants to recollapse along this existing vertical mountain fold here. Once you've reached that point, then you can simply flatten out the left side of the model, just to reinforce that existing crease. And you'll see that the layers on the right will not lie flat. So what we want to do is grab those layers from the top, right where this mountain fold is, and we're simply going to grab both of those layers and pull them over to the left as far as they'll go. Again, you'll see the paper wants to recollapse along existing creases, so you can simply flatten it out like this. And now we're going to turn the model over, and we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. And once again, we're going to tuck this large triangle inside by collapsing along these two existing creases that we made before. So we're going to do that by grabbing the very top layer of paper from the bottom left corner, and we're going to slide it inside of the model by pulling it over to the right like this. And you want to continue pushing that layer inside until you notice that the paper wants to recollapse along this existing vertical mountain fold here. Once you've reached that point, then you can simply flatten out the right side of the model. You'll see that the left side does not lie flat, so what we want to do is grab these two layers from the top right where this small mountain fold is here. Then we're simply going to pull those layers over to the right as far as they'll go, and you'll see that the paper wants to recollapse along existing creases. So simply flatten it out, just like this, and once you've done that on both sides, your model should look like this. And now we're going to create the elephant's tail. So we're going to do that by lifting up the model, and we're going to slightly rotate it so that we can see the layers on the right side. Then we carefully want to separate those layers, just like this, just enough so that we can see this small colored triangle inside. And from here we want to grab that small colored triangle, and we carefully want to pull it over to the right, outside of the model like this. Now you can pull that flap up or down as far as you'd like, but I usually like to create a 90-degree angle at the top of the tail here. And once you've done that, then you can simply flatten out the layers inside surrounding the tail, and then you should have this. And now we're going to make a small vertical crease to make a distinction between the elephant's trunk and its ear. So we're going to do that by simply folding this small corner over to the left as far as it'll go, and we're simply going to make our crease along this existing vertical edge here. So we're just going to make our crease, and once you've done that, then you can unfold. Then we're going to turn the model over, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So now we're going to make a small vertical crease here by folding this corner over to the right as far as it'll go. So we're simply going to pull that corner over to the right, just like this. Then again, you want to make your crease along this existing vertical edge, and then you can unfold. And now we're going to shape the trunk. And I'm going to show you how to do this using inside reverse folds, but you can also do it with outside reverse folds for a nice effect. So we're going to do that by first lifting up the model, and I find it easiest to start by separating the layers on the top of the trunk. So you just want to put your finger in between those two layers, just like this, and then we want to push up on the bottom of the trunk here. So we're simply going to push up that layer, just like this, and you're going to pull it up as far as you'd like. Then you can bring together the two layers on the flap that we just folded up. Then you can put the model back down, and we're simply going to flatten out the trunk just so that we can hold that layer in place. Just like this. So now we're going to do the same thing by making a small reverse fold on the end of the trunk here. So again, we're just going to lift up the model, and then we're going to start by separating the two layers on the bottom of the trunk. So you just want to put your finger in between those two layers, and then we're going to push down on this top point here, just like this. Then you can squeeze together the two layers on the flap that we just folded down, and again you can put the model back down, and you can flatten out the trunk just to hold the layer in place. Just like that. And now you'll see that you've created two reverse folds. Like I said before, you could also shape the elephant's trunk using outside reverse folds like this. So you can continue shaping this minimalist design in any way that you'd like. And once you've done that, then your origami elephant is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial on how to fold an origami elephant designed by Rui Roda. Feel free to upload photos of your completed model to the YouTube gallery on my website to be featured here in my next video, or simply upload your photos to Instagram with the hashtag EzOrigami to be featured here as well. Also, be sure to check out Rui's Flickr photo stream by clicking on the link in the description below. And if you're interested in sending in your origami elephant to be counted towards the world record, more information can be found in the video description. Be sure to share this video, and together we can break the world record while raising awareness for a very serious issue. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and thank you for watching.